If you're somebody who's interested in Southeast Asia and you're looking for a more developed country in that area, you probably came across Singapore. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about here in this video. My name is Jelena, and for the past 5 years, I've been working with different clients and helping them go offshore and find a place that they like, where they're treated best, and optimize their taxes. Now, let's start from the basics. What is residency? Now, residency is a sort of an immigration status that allows you to live full-time and in some situations work in a certain country. Now, whether you will be able to work in that country or not will generally depend on the type of the residence. One of the biggest perks that a residence can give you is going towards a passport in a certain country and getting naturalized there after a number of years. Generally, when we're talking about residencies, you have a temporary residence, you have a permanent residence. In addition to that, residencies or visas that you get in order to live in a certain country can be immigrant and non-immigrant. What that means is that immigrant visas can lead you to a passport, and non-immigrant visas cannot lead you to a passport. In addition to that, there are many ways that you can obtain a residence permit in a certain country. Some of them include showing proof of income, showing proof of wealth, investing in bonds, securities, real estate, or starting a business in a certain country. Now, today's topic is Singapore and how to get residence there. But first and foremost, why would you want to get a residence in Singapore? Well, depending on what you're looking for, if you are looking for a kind of high-level lifestyle, then Singapore might be the place for you, as it is one of the most developed countries in Southeast Asia. It does provide you with a good lifestyle. It has a territorial tax system with no capital gains tax. It is a pro-business country. It is a financial hub, has a great banking opportunities there. However, not everything is perfect. So with a great lifestyle, with great amenities, also comes a high cost of living. So it is one of the most expensive places in the world where you could actually live. Now, in addition to that, if you're somebody who's looking into going towards a passport through naturalization, Singapore might not be the best option for you, because technically they say that you will be able to get a passport in 2 years. However, those guidelines are often kind of misplaced, and they're often unclear, and sometimes many years pass by without you getting a chance to be eligible for a passport. So those 2 years are kind of a general guideline. However, in practice, it usually takes more time and it usually takes more commitment to that country in order to get the passport. Even if you were to get to the point of getting a passport, dual citizenship is not allowed in Singapore. So you would have to renounce your passport in order to claim that one. Now, one additional thing to keep in mind is that all citizens and permanent residents or second generation permanent residents have to serve in the military in Singapore. Now, what is meant by second generation permanent residents are usually children or dependents who got their permanent residence through their parents. So if you are a parent who's bringing your child into this country, be aware of this requirement that can often be problematic for many people. Now, in addition to that, if we're talking about maintaining residence in Singapore, some physical presence is required. So that might be an additional hassle that you have to go through. So if you're looking for Singapore purely for just to have it as a backup option, it might not be the best option for you. However, if you actually want to spend time there, if you want to live there, it might be a good match for you. Now, when we're talking about obtaining residence in Singapore, there are two main attractive ways to get it. The first one is the Global Investor Visa, and as the name itself says, it requires you to invest in the country. Now, up until this year, it was a fairly okay-ish option where you were required to invest approximately 2.5 million Singaporean dollars in an existing or a new business in Singapore. However, in 2023, they changed those requirements, so the minimum now is 10 million Singaporean dollars in a business. If you want to invest in a Singaporean fund, then it's 25 million Singaporean dollars, and if you want to invest in a family office, then it's 200 million Singaporean dollars. So as you can see, the requirements became much higher, so it's only appealing to ultra high net worth individuals, provided that they satisfy some other requirements as well, such as having 3 years of entrepreneurial experience, submitting financial statements of their company, and so on. So the investment is not the only requirement for this residence, and that makes it a bit harder and a bit of a hassle and also expensive to obtain. So many people look for other options that are more available and more affordable in Singapore. The second way that you can obtain a residence in Singapore, which is more affordable and more accessible to people, is the employment pass. This residence does require you to either start a business in Singapore and employ yourself, or have somebody employ you in Singapore, so have a Singaporean employer basically. Now, this can extend to your family as well, but then they need dependent visas. So they're not going to be on employment visas, they're going to be on dependent visas. Now, in addition to that, you also need to satisfy certain salary requirements. So you have to have a certain salary in order to qualify for the employment pass. So for every sector except financial services, the minimum salary starts from $5,000 and it goes up progressively from the age of 23. And it can go up to $10,500 for people who are 45 years of age or more. Financial services are slightly higher, with the minimum starting at $5,500. Now, from September in 2023, the employment pass holders have to satisfy not just the salary requirements, but they also have to pass a test. Now, this is a test where they have to score of at least 40 points on the test. Now, there are certain situations where you are exempt from this test, and that is in case that you have a salary of at least $22,000 to $23,000 per month. Now, most of the people, high net worth individuals who are looking into relocating to Singapore will probably start their own company. So if that's the route you want to take, then the first step will have to be incorporating a company in Singapore and then employing yourself and then bringing your family in with you. Now, each Singaporean company is required to have at least one director who is a tax resident of Singapore. Now, while you still don't have the residence, while you're still not a tax resident of Singapore, you will have to appoint a Singaporean tax resident to be a director of your company. And once you get the residence permit and start living in Singapore, you can be that director and you don't have the need to have that Singaporean director anymore. Generally, employment passes are valid for 24 months. However, when you first apply, it's common to get a 12-month employment pass, after which it has to be renewed. After 6 months to 1 year of holding this employment pass, you can apply for the permanent residence in Singapore, which is subject to the approval of the government. Now, in order to better your chances of getting this permanent residence, because it's not guaranteed, you would have to show that you were really integrated in Singaporean society. You have to show your commitment to living in Singapore. You would have to show your ties to Singapore, like bank accounts, gym memberships, other club memberships, your family there. So you would have to show them that you actually plan on staying in Singapore for the foreseeable future in order for them to consider you for a permanent residence. The same basically goes for citizenship, where you actually, after 2 years, you can technically apply for the citizenship. But usually, in practice, it takes more time and it takes a lot of connections to Singapore in order to be actually considered to become a citizen. So if you're looking into moving to Singapore, you want to be a resident there, you want to be a tax resident there. As mentioned, it's a territorial tax country with no capital gains, so it is perfectly manageable to live there and pay minimum taxes if structured properly. However, the important first step will be the residence. Now, as mentioned, global investor visa residence is kind of on the high end. It's expensive, it's a bit difficult to obtain. However, the employment pass might be a good alternative for those people who are okay with jumping through a bit of a hurdle in order to get that residence permit. So besides maintaining that employment residence, you would actually have to maintain your company in Singapore as well. You would have to have an accountant and kind of renew their company and do everything that's needed in order to keep that residence going. However, as mentioned, if you're looking into living in one of the places in Southeast Asia with the best quality of life, Singapore might be the place for you. Now, if you're somebody who's looking into offshore world and you're interested in more residencies, subscribe to our channel, and every other day we post a video about different topic.